Welcome to the BLIP podcast, where we help agents build successful agencies. Today, I had John Darr with the Darr Shackout Agency on. John's agency is considerably north of $40 million in premium, and he's been an agent since I was in high school. So this is a really special episode for me because many of my guests are not tenured insurance agency owners with large agencies, and I've wanted to start incorporating owners of this caliber so we can learn from them and learn from the pains they've already gone through, the lessons they've learned, and the processes they have in place to maintain and grow an agency this size. John didn't disappoint, and what a cool guy. So let's get into it. But before we do, this episode is brought to you by our anti-aggregator, Blue Lion Insurance Partners, or BLIP for short. Check out what we're doing at bluelioninsurancepartners.com. Now, let's get into it. So without further delay, here's my conversation with John Darr. All right. I think that's it. We're live. So, yeah. Hey, everyone who watches this now or in the future or listens on the podcast, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the BLIP podcast. And this is where we help agents build successful agencies. My name is Josh Berg, and if you're interested in what we're doing, check us out at bluelioninsurancepartners.com. And if you have not subscribed to the podcast or the YouTube channel or wherever you're listening and you've received any value from it, I would love it if you would. So if you can subscribe, like, comment, it really helps us reach more people. So anyway, today I have John Darr with Darr Shackout Insurance in Florida with us. So John, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, man. So John and I met a little bit ago virtually, and we were just talking, and I thought he would be somebody who would be great to get on here. He's got a good amount of history, runs a fairly large operation, fairly large insurance agency, and I thought we could get kind of like an inside look because I know that a lot of us are kind of aspiring to get where John is now. And anyway, I'm also curious to see what your goals are for the future. Because I know I was just thinking about this and going over it. And I'm like, okay, John's where I want to be now. I had other goals that we've surpassed in our agency. And at first, when we were starting out, I was thinking, oh, when I get to these levels, that I've made it, and then you kind of get there and you're like, well, it's not, I don't really feel like I've made it. I want to know what's next, and so you're kind of at my next level. That's where I'm looking down the road to be. So anyway, if you can just kind of give us maybe a history or an overview of how you got into insurance, how you got to where you are today, and then we can kind of get more into details. That would be great.
Sure. I will try to make it as exciting as I possibly can make it.
Well, we're talking about an insurance, so it's pretty exciting, right?
Exactly. It's exciting to me, for sure.
Yeah.
So, so I'll tell you the funny story of how I got into insurance. So when I graduated college, I played college golf in a small school in South Carolina. And I thought I was going to turn pro and have this wonderful pro golf career. And for those that know my father was the golf coach at the University of Florida years ago, and he was a national championship golfer and turned pro for a little while and really, really good player. And he asked me, he said, son, let me ask you a question. He said, could I ever beat Jack Nicklaus, or there was a guy named Hale Irwin that maybe people have heard of, or it was more his age, Nicklaus a little older, Tom Watson, all that. He says, could I ever beat those guys? And I said, well, no, sir, you couldn't beat those guys. And he says, well, could you ever beat me? And most of the time I couldn't. He was a really good player. So most of the time he beat me. So then he says, what makes you think you're going to beat Jack Nicklaus? And what makes you think you're going to beat Tom Watson and Hale Irwin and all these guys when you can't beat me? And I said, it's a good point. He says, what you need to do is go get your insurance license and sell insurance, because it's the only product that I know of that they make laws that you're required to buy. He said there are no laws of, uh, you know, you don't have to buy a refrigerator, you don't have to buy a car necessarily, you don't, but you have to buy insurance. So I said, you know what, you're right. So when I got out of school, I shadowed him for about a week, and then I basically went and got my license and started from scratch, started from zero, because the year I started, he had just transferred from an independent agency to owning his own nationwide agency. So he was about a year into building his own nationwide agency. So he
So you
had
don't
nothing.
hear of that too much, right? You don't hear
You
of an agent being an independent and going more captive.
Correct. It was very rare, but in Florida, back in the the early '90s, '92, Nationwide in Florida got rid of all of their commercial insurance business in about '88, '89. And then they came back and they said that wasn't a good idea. So we want to go hire independent agents to try to get back some of the commercial business that they non-renewed. So they did, and he was one of the agents that they hired to do that. So in '92, he started his own agency, and I started as an associate agent in his office in '93. So he literally didn't have anything to give me. He didn't have any of his own. So it was I started from scratch. I worked 15 years as an associate agent in his office. In 2008, January of 2008, he decided to retire. So a lot of what I learned was from him. He was the greatest insurance salesperson that I've ever met. He went from starting his own agency in '92 to retiring in '08. So literally in 16 years, he sold so much insurance that he's like, "Hey, I want you to take this over. I want you to run with it." We When he retired, we were probably about 12 people, something like that.
Okay.
Um, so in 2008, I took over still as a Nationwide, and I started into this program they had with Nationwide in 2008. And then in about September of 2008, Nationwide came to us and said, "Hey, we're making all you guys independent agents in the state of Florida. There's going to be no more captive nationwide agents in the state of Florida." So that was like, okay. Uh, we mostly acted as an independent agent. Nationwide, the contract with Nationwide is such that if, because of they were limited on property down here, we could broker a lot of stuff. So we acted sort of as an independent, even though we were technically Nationwide captives. So I had a leg up going into that. So I
Yeah.
kind of knew what to do a little
So I was
bit.
going to ask you, when they made that transition, did that negatively affect you, or did it just open more doors for you guys?
Absolutely opened more doors. There was a lot of guys that old Nationwide guys that fought it, and they fought it really tooth and nail. I mean, they did not like it. They didn't like the whole thing. But
What was their reasoning for that?
I think a lot of it goes back to, they had worked for Nationwide for 20, 30 years, and they sort of felt like Nationwide promised them something that didn't come to fruition in the end.
Mm.
So, I looked at it as, I'm starting over, not starting over, but I was starting new anyway, buying my father's book of business and going through the transition from Nationwide. So for me, it was like, look, you know, I think it's a great opportunity. I knew some independent agents, and I knew the opportunity, so I was excited. I mean, I took I didn't slow down at all. As a matter of fact, I bought an agency at the time that was guy was retiring down in Leesburg, and he didn't want any part of the independent world. He definitely wasn't for him. So I bought an agency at the same time.
Wow.
So transition, and at the same time, Ray Shackow, and this is kind of unique too. Ray Shackow had his own nationwide agency that we shared office space for 15 years. So literally, we had two competing nationwide agents in the same office competing for 15 years. So when we went independent, we also decided to merge. We said, look, in the independent world, bigger is better. You have more advantages by being bigger. So we said, why don't we just merge the two and get some economies of scale? So we did. So that's when it became Darr Shackow Insurance. And the funny thing is, the only reason why my name was first was D came before S in the phone book.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
Doesn't matter anymore. But anyway, so we merged at the same time. So I transitioned from nationwide to independent. 9 months later, went independent, and then 2 months or 3 months after that, we merged and put everything together. And now we're 53 people.
Wow.
7 offices. Way north of 40 million, I guess, is if you want to look at a size as far as that goes.
Yeah.
And it's been great. I enjoy every day. I truly, after 25 years, I can tell you that every day I get up and I can't wait to work. I mean, I don't like doing yard work. I do like playing golf and I like fishing, but if I'm not doing that, I truly enjoy working and I enjoy the chase every single day.
So what's your role now? What's your role in the agency?
That's a good question, Josh. That is a good question. And the reason why I say that is I truly love to sell. I love, it's all I can do to not take on a new client because it's what I enjoy doing. I'm good at it. But the problem becomes when you get to a certain point, and it took me a while to understand this, is I can be the greatest salesperson on the planet, but I can't outsell 52 other people.
Right.
So, I had to transition from focusing on individual clients, and I still have individual clients. I still do have some clients, but that's not really the future. The future is going to be the people within our team and within the agency taking us as a team to the next level. And it really changes because, I used to focus on my clients. Now I really try to focus on my employees and my team. They're the ones that need my focus and my attention and my support and my, expertise, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that has changed over the years is, instead of having clients that I focus on, I really try to focus on my people.
So so your role now, I mean, it sounds like for sure it's more managerial and like bigger picture.
Yes, but my partner, Ray,
Yeah.
is much better at the operational side of the business. He went to Wake Forest. He's a really smart guy. And we said early on when we merged, I said, look, I'm not good at the operational side. I'm a sales guy. I will always be a sales guy. That's what I like to do. You handle the operational piece of this. And he's a good sales guy too. It's not to say that he's not a good sales guy. He is a good sales guy.
Sure.
He's just better at the operational piece of it. He's much better at analyzing and going, okay, how is this going to affect this group and that, what does this mean and that sort of thing. So when we merged, we basically said, look, I want my role, the role that I want to play is I want to be the face of the agency. I want to go out and network and meet people and be involved in the community and be that guy, the sales guy, focused on all of those things, and you be the inside guy, the operational guy, the um, admin. And then my brother-in-law is the CFO. He's the money guy. So it's a three-headed monster right now, really.
Yeah.
And he handles the money. He makes sure that we have money in the bank. Obviously, I can trust him, so he fills that role. For those of you agents out there, you're running a lot of money through your agencies, and you've got to have somebody. If you're not doing it yourself, you've got to have somebody you can trust. And you want checks and balances all the time on hey, I'm going to move you. Sorry.
Sure.
You want to have checks and balances on everybody involved, especially on the money side of things.
I think we might have just froze. All right. We are going to just hold for a minute until John comes back online. I think his connection got messed up. But so this is, I guess I'll just take this opportunity to, share a little bit about why I wanted to have John on. So one of the things with a lot of people who are well known, who are kind of in the spotlight in our world, is they don't necessarily they're not tenured, I guess. Hey, John.
All right, I'm back. Sorry.
John's back. So I was just taking a minute while you were getting back on there, just to talk about a little bit about, kind of why I wanted to do this and have you on. And I'm going to have additional guests on in the future that are more tenured agents with larger agencies that have been through kind of the ups and downs. And, when the economy's turned, I'm curious, what does that look like for an insurance agency, even though it's mandated? A lot of the stuff that we sell is not required. Life insurance sales, I'm sure, go down a little bit. Umbrella policies probably get dropped off when people's assets decrease. Things along those lines. You probably write less toys, boats, and motorcycles. So anyway, I'm going to have a few more guests on down the road that are, not in the same boat as you, but are, more tenured, larger agents that people like myself who are aspiring to get to that point. It's, have something to look forward to, lessons learned, what are best practices, things like that. So anyway, now that you're back, I was asking when your computer froze. So you have 8 locations right now. Is that correct?
8 locations. Yes.
And how are those set up? Like, I guess first, how did you get to 8 locations? And then how are those set up right now?
All those locations were locations that we purchased agencies.
Okay.
So most of the agencies that we've purchased were situations where either the agent was looking to retire, or the agent was looking to try to partner with someone that's going to help them get to the next level.
Oh, okay.
So in Florida, it can be very difficult to write property coverage.
Right.
So there's a lot of carriers. There's a lot of these Florida, what we call them pup carriers, that some of the smaller agents have to fill the bucket. And if they can't fill the bucket because the underwriting changes, or it becomes harder and harder, then they either look to go to an aggregator or look to merge with somebody that can help protect them from losing the appointment, so to speak. So that's a couple of the agencies that we've purchased were that situation, and they've come in, frankly, and they've come in and done a great job trying to take that agency that they have to the next level. So it's been real. That's really the location piece of the puzzle is agencies that we've purchased.
Okay. And so then now that you have 8 locations, is each location run the same? Is it a very organized structure?
We'd like to think it is. Yeah. We'd
Yeah.
like to think it's an organized, um, from the standpoint of, we use the same agency management system, we use the same phone system, we use the same uh, information, like when we take intake information, the same forms. Uh, we have a trainer. We have a full-time trainer person that goes around to all of those locations and trains everybody to make sure they understand how to use TAM Online, make sure they understand how to use Applied Rater, make sure they understand how to use um, Document and that sort of thing. And then we also have a full-time HR guy that is handling the human resources piece, and he really works hard on culture and doing those sort of things. So culture is vitally important to us. We really work hard, as I've learned over the years of being in the business. Before it was, we were such a small agency, it was me, so I didn't
Right.
worry about culture. But now that we're to the size we are, culture is really, really important. I mean, those agencies out there that, whether they're my size or bigger, will tell you, or even smaller, will tell you, once you get people on a team, it's vitally important that you care about those people and treat them like you would want to be treated. You know,
Yeah.
we've gotten to the point where we are because of my people. It's a three-pronged sword, so to speak. I talk about people being really important, but you've also got to have products for them to sell. You can have the best people in the world, but if they don't have anything to sell, you're not going to get to where you are. And then processes. So yeah, so the 7 agencies or the eight offices, really we try to follow the same process. Now, some of those agencies do more commercial than personal lines, so it's a little different from that standpoint. When they're working on the commercial lines side of things versus personal lines, but really, we try to make it consistent.
Yeah. And so what um what does each office look like? So you have 8 locations. Like, is there, 3 people in each office, or five, I guess 5 people in each office, or how does that look?
The Gainesville office has over 30 people in it.
That's the
The
big one
other,
then.
yeah, yes, the big one. The other offices typically have two, three. Some offices have one person in
Okay.
them. We have more and more remote people as we continue to grow. It seems that we're continuing to add more and more remote folks because, um, just lots of reasons. These folks are really great insurance people, and I trust them, and they work from home, and they do a great job working from home. And
So you
whether
haven't
it's
seen a big discrepancy between the production or the quality of work from somebody who's virtual based on somebody who's in the office?
absolutely not.
Do you
We have
think
not.
that you could move almost your whole operation virtual, and you wouldn't see that much of a downturn, or none at all?
Correct.
You think so? Interesting. Because I know there's a lot of people who are worried about that, you know?
I
Um,
think it goes back to culture, and it goes back to people and trust. The people that work remote now, trying to think of the folks that work remote, used to work for me in this office or in one of the other locations.
okay.
So at the end of the day, if they're not doing their job, I will know eventually,
Yeah.
and that problem will solve itself, so to speak.
Yeah.
So you have to set your organization up and have checks and balances so that if you do have folks working remotely, they can't hide. You can't let them hide. You have to be able to measure what they're doing,
Okay.
and hold them accountable if they're not doing it. And I think you'll have nothing to worry about. I think the
Yeah.
benefits of working from home, like we have a person that works, and she lives in a little bitty town, probably 30 miles from here in the middle of nowhere. She is 30 miles from our closest office. She's like 35 miles from Jacksonville, 35 miles from Gainesville. She's wonderful. She is a superstar, rock star. But and the funny thing is, we came to her and we said, "Hey, we know you drive 30 miles each way every day. We don't want you to do that.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to work from home?" And she's like, "Absolutely, I would love to work from home." It just made sense. And she's still a rock star. She still gets her job done. She still is killing it,
Nice.
and so it really is. It's really about the people. You have to set up the systems, and you have to have people that you trust and are on board with where you're trying to go as an agency. I mean, you have
Yeah.
to create that culture of, hey, here's where we're trying to go, and we'd love for you to be on the team and help us get there. And if not, that's okay too. Insurance is not for everyone.
So you talked about culture. Is there I mean, do you do tangible things? Like do you actually have a proactive approach to culture, or do you just lead the way that you want, that you would think would be beneficial for the culture in the agency?
3 or 4 years ago, I would have answered this totally differently. In the last 3 or 4 years, we have really made it a focus to focus really on the people and praising them and appreciating them, and doing the things that a if we were in their situation would want done. And we've really tried hard to do that, and it's made a difference. We won some best places to work awards last year. We do things like we have a thank you note board, and we do a drawing every month. And if you write thank you notes up on the board, we draw somebody and they win a gift card. And we the other day, last Friday, the power went out in the office, and it was like, I don't know, 1 o'clock or something like that, and the power didn't come on until I think 6 or 7 that night. But we sent everybody home. We said, "Look, we have no power.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go home." And it was Good Friday, before Easter.
Oh,
So
nice.
little things like that. You know, I don't know. I guess I could have made everybody sit in the dark, but that doesn't make any sense. And
Candles. That's why you have candles on hand.
right, candles. So we do a lot more things that I don't even know about. Frankly,
Yeah.
my HR guy Jamie he's great, and he really does things that frankly I don't even know about, that help with the culture piece of it. We've had people that need to be out for whatever reason, and the rest of the staff will help and pick up their slack. And if they're out for a medical reason or whatever, we encourage that. We do little things like lunches and stuff like that, because it's not always about money. I mean, yes, we try to pay them as much as we possibly can pay them, but
Yeah.
it's not always about raises and that kind of stuff. It was funny. I was just having a conversation this morning with a group of folks, that maybe 6 or 7 people from this office, that went antiquing on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Then they went and had lunch somewhere together, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, it was the best Saturday. We hung out, because we get to see each other in a work day every day, and it's focused around work. But they went antiquing, and they had a nice lunch, and a few of them were like, 'Oh my god, I laughed so hard, my stomach hurt, the next day, just hanging out with these people in a casual setting.' So it means a lot to me as the leader, I guess, to see the people that are spending time together, not just selling insurance, but outside of work, and that
Oh,
says a
yeah.
lot. It says a lot to who they are. as people, not necessarily to me, but it says a lot about them as people and what they, what kind of people they are.
So can you, let's say, so we're in April right now. So all the numbers are probably finalized from last year. How did you guys do last year? Was it, you maintained, you grew, you shrank over as an overall agency? How did that look for you guys?
We were up over 20% last year. 10 of it was organic growth.
Okay.
10 of it was M&A.
Okay.
So last year was a great year.
Yeah.
We really knocked it out of the park, and frankly, it was just the momentum that we created. I think that had a lot to do with the culture. Remember, 3 or 4 years ago, I said, our culture changed. Our culture got much better than it was, and I think it took a couple of years to show up in the bottom line. It is really why I think we grew. Because
Yeah.
Florida's competitive. Florida's a competitive state. I mean, there's a lot of insurance agents here in Florida, and it's a competitive situation. But I think the combination of people working together, helping each other, a lot of the people now have been here a few years. They understand the processes, they understand the products, and we're not hitting on all cylinders, Josh. Frankly, I mean, we still need to be better at sales, better at marketing. I look at what you guys do, like you and Nicholas Ayers and Chris Green and Preston Schmidley and a bunch of these guys, and you guys are superstar marketers and superstar at technology. And I've obviously, you can see I'm not real great at technology, so I think that the younger agents are really good at a lot of things that we're not good at.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can figure that piece of the puzzle out, if we can get better at marketing, better at sales, I'm holding a sales school internally. I'm going to do 1 hour a week for 8 weeks, and we're just going to talk about sales. And I'm going to train them how to become better salespeople.
That's awesome.
And things like that will help us get better. And so we're not perfect, but that's what we're trying to understand and trying to get better at every day is just the little things, the blocking and tackling, so to speak.
Yeah. Um, I think it's true. I think it's true what you said about some of the younger agents having different skill sets or being better at certain things than people who've been in the industry for a long time. But I think one of the things is that what you and other people who are in a similar situation have to offer is so incredibly valuable because, like, I'm not trying to lump you into any groups, but most of you fly under the radar. And it's like, who is this person? How big is their agency? Like, why do I not know who they are? And like, you guys are just consistent, and it keeps going and rolling and like growing, and it's incredible. So anyway, I'm glad you're on because this is awesome. I think a lot of people need to hear this.
Yeah,
so
I feel
what
bad. I feel bad for some of those older agents that have been, have built big businesses, and they're really afraid to share. They're afraid to share ideas. They're afraid to share information because they're competitive. They grew up
Yeah.
in a very ultra competitive situation that they didn't want to share anything with anybody.
Yeah.
And your generation definitely shares. And and I really appreciate that. And I want to give back to some of the younger people in the industry that are in that situation where they're just starting out or a few years into it, and help them because frankly, there's plenty of business to go around. I mean, my gosh, There is
Yeah.
plenty of business to go around. So, if I can share an idea with somebody that helps them, and also learn an idea from some of you guys out there that will help me, man, I'm, it's a win-win. I think. I
Yeah.
mean, I think I have a responsibility. So I appreciate what you do with this podcast and that kind of stuff. I really enjoy watching these because I do learn sometimes more than I realize. So I
Well,
appreciate that.
good. Yeah, heck yeah. Um, well, so back to your agency and some of the details on that. So, um, do you guys have um, like a, I mean, we talked about culture. I know there's some things like, mission, agency mission and values and things like that. How important are those kind of bigger corporate type things for you guys?
They're very important, but what's more important is you have to walk the walk. Like, they're not just words.
Yeah.
For those people out there that are you know that are trying to build something and trying to, maybe are smaller than us. It's yes, it's important to have, the vision, the mission statements, and all of that written down. We have all of that, but frankly, it's more important to act like that than it is to know what it is, so to speak.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So, we try to preach as much as we can, treat people the way you'd want to be treated, whether it's a coworker or a customer or a prospect or just some other insurance agent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had I interviewed somebody who was interested in joining us, who's another insurance agent in town, and she,
Okay.
and she came in and chatted and whatever, and I said, if you ever need help, feel free to call me. And she looked at me like I had three heads. She's like, "Are you serious? You'd be willing to help me?" And I said, "Sure." I said, there's thankfully insurance. This job is the best job and the best career that I know of.
Yeah.
My dad taught me years ago. He said, "Son, like I said, you're selling something that by law people have to buy. What other industry gives you that? Now they don't have to
Right.
buy it from you. So, you know, what other industry gives you, the ability to not discount a, a price? If you go get a price from an agency down the street and you get a price from us, it's the same price.
Yeah.
You,
Hopefully.
well, hopefully. You can't, it shouldn't be any different. You know, there aren't any industries that I know of like that.
Yeah.
Some guy discounts the washer and dryer set down the street. You're in a tough situation. The insurance industry
Yeah.
doesn't. We don't work nights. We don't work weekends. If you don't want to, we don't. But
Yeah.
most of the
Yeah.
time, we don't. Gosh, I don't know
Yeah.
why more people don't do it. Frankly, it's crazy.
I hear you. I love it too. It's great.
It's just not a get
Uh,
rich. It's not a get rich quick
it's
scheme.
not.
Is the My wife's a real estate agent, and she does these big sales where she'll sell a house and she'll come home with this big check, or whatever, and that's all great. But on January 1st, she starts at zero.
Right. Right.
You know, so anyway.
Um, so, do you guys put a large focus on having a standard or I guess a standard customer experience? Like when do you have like the same process for every lead that comes in if it's personal, and same process for a lead that's commercial, and after the sale, does it all look the same? The follow up and all that, is it really standardized for you guys?
Um, I wouldn't, not really, and let me explain when I say that. We give our agents the freedom to do what they think is the right thing to do.
Okay.
So So one of our model is probably a little different than most in that we have agents that when we write the business, the customers can continue to have access to that agent over time. We want that customer to be able to call their agent up and say, hey, I need to, I bought a new auto. I need to
Mm-hmm.
change, an auto. Now, I don't want that agent to do the change. I want that agent to chat with the client and go, oh, great, I hear you got a new car. Awesome. How's the family? Great. Uh, did you, hey, did you ever think about buying that umbrella policy we talked about?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay. So that's what I want our agents to do. So we give them the freedom to not, like, there's no scripts or anything like that. We just preach and try to help our agents understand that, yes, we treat people the same way, but it's mostly they have the ability to be themselves from a personality standpoint, um, so that I don't force them into a box.
Gotcha. So, hold on. I think your screen just glitched again. You there, John? No? All right. I'm going to wait for John to come back. I'm going to move this back over to me. So, I hope this is interesting for you guys. It's really interesting to me. John John's been an agent for, gosh, longer than I've been out of high school, which is a long time. And so it's really, really interesting and eye-opening to get a behind the scenes look. And it's unique for me because I have this, I guess, idea of what a large agency looks like, what it runs like, what the process looks like, how it's split and divided, and who does what tasks and all that kind of stuff. Hey, John, welcome
Sorry,
back. No, you're good, man.
I
I
don't know
was
what
just,
happened there. I wasn't even touching anything, and it just shut off.
you're good. I was just saying that this is really good information, and I absolutely love this because I personally, I've had an idea of, what a larger agency looks like, how it runs, what the processes are like. And I wouldn't say you're shattering those, but it's interesting to me because, like, you know, I always hear so much that, you've got to do things this way and this way and this way and this way. But a lot of those things are opposite or different from, I guess, what you guys do. And so it's just interesting to me that all the stuff I keep hearing, because I read a lot of books, or I at least listen to a lot of books. I catch a lot of different podcasts from people I totally respect. And, like, I feel like the message is mainly always the same. If it's on the same topic, the things that come down are always the same. You got to do this and you got to do that. And it's just refreshing to know that you don't have to, that you can have your own way of doing things and you can still be successful in long term. So that's,
Absolutely.
yeah. Anyway, it's great. Love it. So let me want to make sure I understand this right. So it sounds like you have separate, I guess, kind of sales and customer service, but your sales, the people who sell or form the relationship, are still available to kind of continue that relationship, even though they may not be the one actually processing the changes. They'll still be the interface, like be the go-to.
Correct. We believe that when people buy insurance from John Darr or
Yep.
Paul or Heather or whoever, they want to continue to deal with me. They view me as their insurance agent. If you
Yeah.
ask them in the store, who's your insurance with, they're going to say John Darr.
Yeah.
They're not going to say Progressive. They're probably not going to say Nationwide. They're probably not going to say a carrier. They're going to say me, especially if I'm the one that sold it to them. One of the things that you have to realize as you get older and more experienced in this business, the only thing that InsurTech can't duplicate is me.
Yeah. Right.
You can't duplicate that relationship or that with their agent. So we thought the model was, all right, I want my client to know, I want our clients to know, here's my agent and here's who I know, like, and trust to give me the advice that I need to protect my family, which is typically the most important thing the most dangerous thing we do is drive a car every day.
Yeah.
Our biggest asset is typically our house or our business. Those are the things that I want a real person to help me with. So that's the advantage that most agents don't realize that they have, is nobody can replicate Josh Berg. There's only one. And that's the beauty of the whole thing, is that
Yeah.
you have the ability to create whatever that is. And I'm sure there's some people out there that would want to do business with you. And, not everybody wants to do business with us, for sure. We get it. And we make
Yeah.
mistakes and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, we try to combine people, our agents, with great carriers. In other words, we're very blessed that we represent awesome carriers, and it makes it easy to sell because we're just competitive most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the process of whatever it is, the processes, people, processes, and products, really, that's the magic bullet, if there is one. That if you can combine those three, you really can't help but be successful.
Yeah. Um, have you, well, you've been through, downswings in our industry and in the overall economy and whatnot. What kind of effect does that have on an agency?
Well, luckily back in 2008, and I'd love to tell you how smart I was, but that's not the case. 2008, our agency was not necessarily heavy in construction. A lot of guys had a lot of contractors, a lot of general contractors in construction, that kind of thing. And in 2008, it died. I'd love to tell you that I was smart enough to figure out that what was coming and not get heavy into commercial or construction, and but that wasn't the case. We had some, but not nearly as much as some of the other agencies.
Yeah.
We're a blend right now of commercial and personal lines. We do about 60% personal lines and 40% commercial lines. So I think it insulates us in some ways from a downturn.
Yeah.
With that being said, I think the future of commercial is more into the niche side of things than it is the generalist. It's going to be hard to be a generalist going forward. I think you got to really focus on becoming more of a niche player, and you'll be more successful. Personal lines is a situation where I truly believe our people, our agents, will carry us through as long as we leverage the technology that's being created. If you combine an agent that cares about your folks and gives great advice and helps their clients with the technology that is out there, the ability to communicate in different channels, Facebook, uh, Instagram, texting, whatever. If you combine those two, how awesome is that going to be? You're going to be able to have a real person that you deal with every single time, and they're going to be able, you can instant message them and say, hey, I'm thinking about buying a new car. What are the rates on a Corvette? Whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that is, I think that'll play into your advantage if an agency or an insurance agency understands that and does the things that you need to do to take advantage of that. And we haven't done everything we need to do. So I don't want anybody to think, oh, geez, he's got all the answers. I don't. We're behind.
Yes, you do.
I would say we're behind on some of that, but we continually try to get better and learn from folks that do understand, texting and Facebook Messenger and all that.
Sure.
Kind of, stuff.
Yeah. All right. Do you have, do you have a book recommendation? What one book would you recommend to anybody listening to this?
So there's a book out there called Awesomely Simple by a guy named John Spence. John Spence just happens to live in Gainesville, and he's a buddy of mine.
Okay.
So I know him very well, but I think he really wrote a great book. That's an easy read, and it does a good job. It's not insurance focused, but it does a good job of making things simple and awesomely simple. And I really sometimes need that, because I get crazy, wild ideas on how I'm gonna, sell insurance and wherever, and I'm the sales guy that has the ideas that I want to take my magic wand and go, okay, make it happen, and
yeah.
So I sometimes get ahead of myself on that side of things, but I think Awesomely Simple is a good book for most folks to read. It's an easy read, and it will give you a lot of insight into how to run a business.
Cool. Last question I have for you is, where are you guys headed? Where do you want to be in 5 years?
I want to be twice as good as we are now.
All right. Is that quantifiable?
I think it is, if we listen to our customers and measure that by premium sold.
Gotcha.
So, ideally, we would love to double in size in the next 5 years. But
that would be incredible. What a goal. Holy cow.
Yeah, it's
wow.
We'll see. But I think it only happens if we continue to try to get better every day at every little thing we do, and strive for that perfection that we'll probably never attain. But the chase is the fun part to me. It's just, trying to get better at everything we do every day, how we answer the phone, how we take a message, how we make a change. We do things like, we still laminate insurance ID cards and mail them out to people.
Really? Wow.
Old-fashioned laminated ID cards. We have a laminator that we burn up every couple of months.
Do you do that at everyone's renewal too?
We try to.
Wow. That is impressive.
It doesn't happen every time, but it definitely, little things like that you can get a laminator at an office supply store, and even if you don't do it for every single renewal every single time, I think if you do it every couple of years, because let's face it, most people have 2-year-old insurance cards in their glove box anyway.
Yeah.
I think little things like that make a difference. But don't tell anybody my secrets.
Don't worry. That's funny. I bet you if anyone ever leaves you guys and they go to another agent, they'll be like, "Where's my laminated cards?"
Yeah. You're probably
they're
too young to even know what that is.
Oh, my wife is a teacher. I know what a laminator is.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe we can do that. Maybe we could get some third or fourth graders, and have it be like a project where we just
There you go.
send them some
Man,
cards. And those kids would love that.
I like it. Awesome, dude. Well, John, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your time. We need more people like you talking about what they're doing. So super, super appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure. And thanks for having me on the show. And thanks for all you do.
Heck yeah, man. And by the way, I'm going to send you a calendar invite for 5 years out, and we're going to check in whether you hit that goal or not.
Deal. I like it. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks, John.